Come on. What up, what up, what up, New York Giant Nation and football fans all over the world. It is your boy, Mac the Giants fan. I got the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. This
Hello.
is the championship edition of the real deal NFC East. Round up. Punch that intro. Oh, come on.
Cash flow is your lead.
What up, what up, what up? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are at. It is definitely one of those things. Welcome back to the championship week edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundoff. I got my homie Adam Costas here, man. How you feeling, Adam?
I'm good. I'm sad. We have to move on.
That's right, man. As we know, coming into this, the season for the New York Football Giants is over. They are in off-season mode now. But we still got some things to talk about, and we're going to definitely get down to the nitty-gritty right here. What's going on, Deception? Thanks for stopping in, my brother. Appreciate you, man. What's going on, Philly B? Obviously, you know I appreciate you, my guy, man. Couple of days away to the vacation. I know you counting that time down, bro. Coach Ed, man, thanks for stopping in, man. Appreciate you, Coach
Thanks for
Ed.
inviting me to the vacation. I'm just kidding.
And yeah, we gonna get right to it, man. We gonna get right to it. Here we go, baby. And what's going on, Unpopular Opinion, man? Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for stopping in, man. We gonna get right to the nightmare that was
Yes.
the Giants visiting Lincoln Financial Field on Saturday night, man. And yeah, it wasn't a very good night to be a New York Giants fan. It wasn't a good night to be a New York Giants player or anybody else associated with the Giants, to be quite frank. It was an office, man, to say the least, and that is putting it lightly. The Eagles ran away with this game 38-7, and to be quite frank, it probably even could have gotten worse if they didn't kind of take their foot off the gas in the second half of this football game. But they did enough damage in the first half that it really didn't matter. So, yeah, go ahead and let you get it all off your chest, Adam, first, man. You go ahead and I know you gotta let it out, man. So,
Listen, I am furious. Most people are not furious. I'm effing furious. Why, people? I'll tell you freaking why. Here's why. Because when last week we were talking about this game, lead up to it, the build up, we just beat Minnesota. Everyone's riding high. We're riding high. Let's go 07 Super Bowl. Let's go. We're going to beat the Eagles. F the Eagles. F this. F that. They ain't got nothing on us. We're going to beat them, stomp them to the next round, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I was part of this too. Then we lose the game, right? And instead of people being upset, they're like, well, it's okay. It's all right. It's cool. It's cool. No, people, it shouldn't be cool. You got that far. You didn't get that far to get that far, okay? You got that far to go to a championship. You never know when you're going to go back. You never know. The Giants were out of this thing for, the last half a decade, right? And here we are now in it. Let's go win it. The other thing that pissed me off about this game was the lack of effort. Because, Mac, every week we talk, and every week we go back and forth. I say, hey, man, they can't beat the Titans or they can't hold up against this. And what does Mac say to me? He's like, listen, Adam, this team's different. They got it. They have fight. They'll fight to the end. Well, guess what? They left their fight in New Jersey. They were too busy doing the gritty on Wednesday to bring their gritty down to Philadelphia. Because I'm telling you right now, that effort was piss poor all around, from top to bottom. The only guy that didn't have a piss poor effort is Joe Shane. And I don't know what he did. Maybe he spilled soda on his suit so he could have a piss poor effort. I have no idea. But that's what those things piss me off. You can't go from being, well, hey, let's slap each other on the back, high five, to, we're going to beat these guys, to, oh, it's a great season when we lose. No. And the way we lost is even worse. The way we lost is even worse. It's like we didn't even show up. It's like the Eagles go down and score. We go down, we get the ball, we're moving, we're humming. Daniel Jones trips on his own feet. Then there's a 4th and 8. After that, he gets sacked on that 3rd and 6 after tripping on his feet. And then there's a 4th and 8 where, they bring the pressure, incomplete. They get the ball, go downfield, game over. Good night, the lights.
Well, you said a lot there, brother, and I definitely agree with some of it, man. I definitely agree with the lack of, with the intensity and the fact that they didn't bring the fight to Philly on Saturday night. Like I said, I was immediately following this game. I was angry. I was upset. I wasn't feeling it either. But then, after a couple of days of process, the realization hit me that, look, at the end of the day, it's not good enough just getting there. I do agree with that sentiment that you just said, because once you're there, you want the whole thing. You want the whole enchilada, so to speak. But the reality is the Eagles are a better football team, and they proved that on Saturday night, just how much better they actually are. I mean, we just got beaten in every facet of this football game. They just beat us. They beat us up front. They beat us on the back end. They everything they was doing working. They ran the ball down our throat. When Jalen Hurts needed to throw the pass, he was doing that with ease. Jalen Hurts barely got touched in this football game. I mean, we got one sack. It was a strip fumble, and we couldn't even recover the damn strip sack. We couldn't even recover the damn fumble. I mean, not that would have probably. I'm not saying that would have turned the game around but just couldn't. Nothing we did. We weren't able to build any momentum in this game at any point in time. Man, they just came and just took it to us and flat out showed why they were arguably the best team, and not even just in the NFC, but arguably the best team in the whole damn league, pretty much the majority of the season. So it was just look, I don't like to sit up here and do this, but I gotta take my hats off to Philly. Because you're right, we were doing a lot of us were jumping on that bandwagon, doing a whole lot of kind of not saying looking past the Eagles, but thinking that we really, really had a shot. And they closed that door. They closed that door fast. The Eagles closed that door fast in this game, quickly in this game. And I know we were just talking about that 4th and 8 play. I processed and did some more thinking about that too, and I'm just not as mad about that play as a lot of other people are anymore. Because like I said on my video the other day, hindsight is 20/20, man. If that play would have worked, everybody would be talking about how Brian Dable was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and how Brian Dable is the gutsiest guy, coach this and big. And the reality is in that area of the field, teams go for it on 4th down with a higher percentage than not in that area of the field. That is maybe not 4th and 8, so to speak, but on 4th down, teams do tend to go for it in that area of the field a lot. It's not like that was some kind of new thing, like he was out there trying to reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean? So at the end, maybe we can question the call. Like I said, we know it didn't work, and we can question the call from here to kingdom come. But at the end of the day, I'm just not as upset with that, because we still had 3 more whole quarters left in that football game to still get something done, and we still didn't get anything done. So At the end of the day, it just is what it is. It was another play. It didn't work out for us, and it led the Eagles points, gave them a short field. They went up and got up 2 touchdowns real quick on us. But who's to say we punt the ball away and they still don't just drive the ball right down the field for like 90 yards?
I would have taken that. I would have taken that with the way the game is going. At least make them earn it. You giving them the ball. You missed that ball there, which they did. You're giving the ball back at the 40-yard line. And I get it. I understand what you're saying. You need to do it. But I felt at that juncture in the game, I wouldn't have done that. I would have punted the ball, said, listen, let's let our defense at least do something. At least if you're down 14-0 like that, boom. At least I had to go on a long drive. Maybe there's a field goal. Maybe there's a sack fumble. You have no idea what could happen. When you give them the ball within the plus territory that you're already in, you're already shooting yourselves in the foot. And not to mention, you already had a negative play. So, if it was 4th and 3, I wouldn't be as upset. But it's 4th and 8. Probabilities are you're not going in there playing zone defense. They came right up the middle, blitzed him, and then that's it. They got the ball right back, and it's like, I think that took the wind out of their sails, at least for me. And then what also pissed me off is at the end of the game, in the fourth quarter, you're at 4th and 3, and you decide to punt the football. I said at that point, you're waving the white flag. Why would you go for it at 4th and 8 here, and then at 4th and 3, you don't give a damn? You don't. At that point, your season's over. Why don't you go for it then? Doesn't make
I
sense to
mean,
me.
I definitely agree with that. I did question that big time, but I also right here on Popular Opinion Sports just put a point up also that I was thinking about too on that 4th and 8 play because like that's also what that's the thing. You don't know what's going on in these coaches' minds, but I believe this was, and there maybe could have been other ways to handle it. Like you mentioned a point you had brought up, I believe on the Aftermath show on Saturday night. You were like maybe they could have took a intentional delay of game and went back 5 yards and gave Gillian a little bit more room to just punt it more like the way he's comfortable punting because
Right.
obviously
If you want to pin and lead.
the directional kicking is definitely not something he's proven to be able to do, and that might also had a little impact on Coach Dable's decision there as well. Just not feeling good about him. You know, I felt like he just felt like a punt will be giving him the same damn field position anyway. Ultimately, with this guy punting the football, but I don't know. Like I
I
said,
mean,
we'll
but
never know.
if
We
you're
can't get inside his mind, but
okay, so the guy is your punter. You can't trust him to do coffin corner kick. Then I don't know what to do. At least Max protects. I have no idea because at that point in the game, the game was still in peril. Yeah, they went down. You had a nice drive going, and then Daniel Jones trips on his feet and falls over. Right? If he doesn't fall over, maybe gets the first down, and maybe you go for it on 4th and 3 if you're inside the 10 or 15 yard line. You get it. But to me, I just thought it was. I thought right there too early to go for it, and that was the game. I feel that was the game right there. Once they scored the second touchdown, you knew it was going to be a monumental climb to get the lead back, and they just kept pouring it on.
well, absolutely. I mean, I agree with that part, like the points going up like that. But at the same, I just feel like we didn't stop them pretty much man, doing anything the whole damn night. And I feel like it almost didn't matter where they were starting their drive from. They were still. I get what you're saying. Make them work a little bit harder for it. But that's all they would have had to do was work a little bit harder for it. I feel like the way that game was going, they were still going to probably just likely drop the ball straight down the damn field. But we don't know. You're right. We'll never know at this point.
But I mean,
So
we say they drive the ball down the damn field, but what if you bring him McKinney blitz and because remember McKinney blitz and they got a sack fumble, so why wouldn't we be the mindset of maybe we get a turnover here, maybe we get a stop? I mean, these are the types of things that I'm not trying to nitpick one play, but I'm just saying there's another when we get to the other game, there's another crucial fourth down that I thought could have been gone for it. It might have made a difference in the game, right? So I just think I expected more of what the Cowboys put out there against 49ers for the Giants and Eagles because we played them. We heard Sean O'Hara say we're going to be good. We heard Chris Sims say we're going to be good. We heard the entire crew in New York on WFAN say how the Giants are going to be good. We had Carl Banks and all these other legends saying, well, the Giants are 6-0 when they hit these games. So for me, there was a lot of going into it that I'm like, all right, I took the content creator hat off, put it down to the side for 1 minute, and I joined you guys on the fanhood bus. And then when the bus cleared out, I'm the only one sitting on the bus. Why? Because I just think, to me, of all that work that we put in, all that hard work we put in, you go out on a whimper, you go out on a, like all this, yeah, high five. But I'm just going to remember that game until we kick off next year because it exposed a lot of things on this team that we need, and
well, it did.
yeah.
It absolutely did. Go ahead, finish or just
No. I'm done. I'm just
yeah. I mean, like you said, it exposed a lot. Exposed a lot of things on this team that need to be addressed. And I mean, like I said, we go down this roster. Our roster next to the Eagles roster, our roster doesn't stack up to theirs. I mean, it doesn't even stack. We're not even punching in the same weight class. You know what I mean? As the Eagles are right now, and that's okay. It's okay because we still went out there with the guys we had that I think around the league don't command a lot of respect overall, other than a couple of guys, like the Saquon Barkleys and Dexter Lawrence is on the roster. Even our quarterback doesn't command that much respect around the league. league-wide respect. So at the end of the day, we got a roster that's constructed the way ours was, and we still finished 9-7-1, won a playoff game. Did win a playoff game. Might have been against a weak defense in Minnesota, but we won a playoff game with this roster, which is Minnesota is also a team that is a more talented football team than us as far as on paper anyway. So we went in there and beat them. I mean, this team still has a lot to be proud of after the way the season ended. That's why it's tough that it had to go out the way it did with this type of an L. I believe Deception said it the best way. It was a good old-fashioned ass whooping, beat up like a red-headed stepchild, you know what I mean? I think that's saying it best. That's just what happened. We went in there, and I feel like it just proved that we can play with the average teams in this league. We can play, and we can definitely beat up on the bad teams. It proved that we're not ready for the best of the best. We're not ready for the big boys. We're not ready for the Philadelphia Eagles of the world and the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. We're not ready and the 49ers probably. We're not ready for squads like that. That's what this game proved to me, that we're not built to play against teams like that right now. Can we be next year maybe a little more ready? Hope so, because we got a couple of them teams on the schedule next season. We got some Buffalo Bills on the schedule next season. We got the 49ers on the schedule next season, I believe. So yeah, we're gonna have to get ready. This offseason is going to be big. It's going to be important. It's going to be clutch.
It's going to be fun for an off season.
Definitely going to be a fun off season.
I just think for me, the hype about everything, the belief in everything, we're talking to friends and family saying, hey, Giants win this game, they're probably going to the Super Bowl, we're having those delusions of grandeur, which are fine to do. But then at the end of the day, when you lose, I'm not just going to turn around and say, well, it's just that, just chalk it up to that. No, because if we didn't make the playoffs and the Giants were, let's say, 9-7 and whatever, they missed the playoffs, I could easily say, you know what, it was a good season. We didn't make the playoffs, but you know what? We have something to build on. Here, once you get to the playoffs, in my eyes, it's a totally different ballgame at that point. Now I'm trying to win, because anything less than a divisional round next year, anything less than possibly the championship round is a failure. I don't want to go back to the divisional round and either lose. I want to go back and win. So, if we don't make the playoffs next year or we get bounced in the wild card, I don't want to hear, well, we had a good season. No, because it wasn't. When you go to the playoffs, no matter who you are, you want to win. You don't want to go there. We're the New York Giants. We don't go to playoffs to just be like, hey, you know what? We're one and done. Or no. That's what the Cleveland Browns do. That's what the Detroit Lions do. Their fan base is okay with that crap. Our fan base, like I said to you, everyone, not just me, media, Lawrence Tynes, Jacobs, are basically poo-pooing the Eagles and saying, you know what, we're going to beat this team. Don't worry about it. You praise them for beating backups in week 18. We're like, oh, we kept it close with backups. We're going to, and to get there and have that effort and then turn around and go, well, you know what, I'm okay with it, because of what happened. It's just, to me, I don't know. I'm just a little bit salty. It's going to take me a little while to get over this one. I don't know why it hurts so much, but I think it's because, like I said, the lack of effort that this team showed, the holes this team was exposed about, and the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles and their coach is dancing in the camera. That's how embarrassing the loss was. He's dancing in the camera.
I mean, he was earning the right to dance in the camera. His team's kicking our ass. But at the end of the day, like I said, I was mad at first too, but you just got to try to dial it in and realize the situation, what it really was. And granted, we all fell into that, like you said, because you're in the playoffs. We in the playoffs, so you're in there. So of course we're all in. We're all invested. We're not going to root against her. We're not going to. Like, it's one thing during the season we say, oh, I think this team is just better. We're going to concede this. I think they're just flat out better. They're going to win. Once you're in the postseason, I'm not, even as a content creator, I'm not feeling that way. I can't do that at that point in the postseason. It's a different animal. It really is. But then when you really process things at the end of the day, man, you just got it comes down to the reality that this team is just flat out that much better than us. They really are. I mean, that is just a reality. I mean, we talked about the importance of, we got Dory Jackson back in the lineup and Xavier McKinney back and Leonard Williams, and then these guys didn't play against the Eagles in either matchup. And yes, and it clearly did not even matter.
I mean,
that clearly didn't even matter.
The defense
So
didn't even show up.
it's just like this is what I mean when I say it's the reality. After you really have to take time and let the smoke clear a little bit, the Eagles are just that much better. And it's
Well,
not like I said, you don't want to admit that. I hate admitting it. Hate admitting it as much as anybody else. But it's just the fact that it's the truth.
but let me
They're
ask
a
you
good
this:
football team. Very, very good football team.
if the Giants happen to, statistically do better in certain categories but fail to make the playoffs, is that a failure next season? Like they put up more points, they score, but their turnovers are up. The quarterback has a decent season, but they miss the playoffs. Are we going to be like, well, we're still in rebuilding mode? Or are we going to be like, well, you know, we took a step back? Like, my question is, at what point do we accept that it's rebuilding and move on? Because, like, to me, I accepted that it was rebuilding from the jump. I even said it from the jump. People vilified me. Adam, what are you talking about? You're giving up. You don't care about the season. This, that, and the other thing. I said, but guys, it's a rebuild mode. We're playing house money. Don't worry about it. Blah, blah, blah. But then I get to the playoffs, kind of bring up that same sentiment, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? We're going to win. And now here we are. And now it's like, well, and I'm the only guy, again, on this island that is just like, yo, I feel like this team just left me at the altar. Like, you had me at, you were going down the aisle, and then it's like, all right, now you just went out with a win. Like, again, if they played like the Cowboys, and we'll move into the Cowboys in a minute, where they kept the game close, right? And the game was still in apparel the entire time, but yet you're playing a better team and you played up to your competition, I could be like, great. But to end on that note, after giving me what you gave me in Minnesota, the build up to this game, the practice reports, the media, the entire fan base feeling a high, and then we come down here and we're just like, well, it is what it is. We shouldn't have been here anyways. No, man, you earn the right to be there. You try to win the damn dance. That's all.
And here's unpopular opinion chiming in again, man. Once again, the Eagles. Most people fuck the Eagles. Most people, remember, most people didn't pick this team to win jack squat. Most of them Giant fans, we need to upgrade the trenches if we really want to compete with the Eagles and the Cow Turds. I mean, that's a spot right there. Definitely needs to be upgraded. Like I said, that was clear cut in this game as well. We didn't match up to the Eagles on the line of scrimmage. They dominated the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball. And the same, like I said, our linebackers got absolutely trashed. I mean, the lack of the poor tackling, it was just a bad look. And I know you see you keep making a comparison. I would have wished it would have been that kind of game too. We all do, I would think, as Giant fans. We could have kept it competitive. But the reality is the 49ers are a lot more closely matched up to the Cowboys than we are to the Eagles. I mean, it just is what it is. I think that's something, like I said, it's hard to accept because we enjoyed a little bit of degree of success in this season, but yet we ran into what is a straight up buzzsaw, a team that we just weren't ready for, and it's getting hard to accept it and deal with it. But that's really what the big thing all came down to. The Eagles are just a flat out more championship ready team than we are. They're just a better football team as things stand right now. Does it have to stay that way? I don't believe it's going to stay that way. I believe we're going to close that window. We still might not be quite better than them next year. Still, we might not be. I'm not 100% going to just come out and say that either. But we're going to close that gap a little bit closer. And I don't see no more 38-7 victories in their future in the upcoming seasons right now. And the way I think things are going to go with this football team moving forward. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. And we can keep going. Like I said, I'm upset as you are about the effort. The effort. That was the most disappointing thing on Saturday night. But to me, I think the reality is we gotta just realize at the end of the day that we went out there and flat out lost to a team that is just significantly better than us as things stand right now. Tudo, what is going on, man? Appreciate you stopping in, Tudo. But yeah, I feel like just stress yourself out over it, bro. We in the off season now. This is kind of as weird as it may seem, something we've been looking forward to as Giant fans, man. So let's just try to enjoy the off season and see what happens, man, and see how we can continue to grow and develop. We got a lot of pertinent business to take care of this off season, and I'll see how things go and see what they want to do, man, to see what kind of moves get made, see what happens with Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. Those are pretty much two of the biggest names actually around this team right now. Going into the offseason, their free agency status, and we'll see. What's going on, Ali, man? Good. Thanks for stopping in, bro. I appreciate you, man. Another one of the homies, man, right there, man. Another brother I grew up with, man. I appreciate you coming through, man. But yeah, man. I just think we gotta kind of just level this thing out and just see. Like I said, we kind of did set ourselves up for some maybe higher expectations going into next year. Totally understand you there. It would be disappointing if we came short of the playoffs next year. Now, after the way this season played out, thinking that we should have a better team next year. But like I said, we're going to have to see how it all works out, man, because it is what it is. Injuries are a real thing, man. So injuries and all other things can impact anything, and none of us are Nostradamus, so we can't see the future right now. We don't know, and we'll have to see what happens. But right now, I'm excited to see how this offseason plays out. I know players want to be here. Players want to be a part of the New York Giants. The guys that we have a lot of free agents. I know a lot of them still want to remain and be a part of this. They obviously all can't. So we're gonna see how that shakes out. But and guys that aren't here, other free agents that aren't here, are probably going to want to be a part of this now. This is back to becoming an attractive spot again, where before guys were knocking down and beating down doors trying to get the hell out of town. Now guys want to get back here. Guys want to be a part of this. So we're going to see how this offseason plays out. And we got a lot of work to do, man. Like I said, the Eagles proved that we're not ready yet. I mean, I had to concede to a lot of people. I did a lot of shit talking last week, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. I talked a lot of shit last week to a lot of people, man. I had to go eat a whole lot of crow these last couple of days, man. So that's part of this thing, man. But like I said, overall, I still don't want to just forget about the good season overall that the New York Giants put together, considering this was a 4-13 team just a year ago, and it's a lot of the same guys that was on that 4-13 team. But you know, and they were able to turn this thing around, just simply bringing in a coach, new GM that seemed they can get a response out of these guys, and we're able to get the most out. I mean, we had practice squad guys out there. I mean, we're all hyping up Isaiah Hodgins, and he deserves it. He came out and had a good back half of this season for the New York Giants. But at the end of the day, this guy was just chilling on a practice squad up in Buffalo, man. So it's not like we're out there throwing, AJ Browns and Devontae Smiths out there. You know what I mean? Like, this is what the kind of talent that we were playing against, and that's the kind of talent that we have. So it's a double-edged sword, but I do feel you. I feel you, Adam. It took me, like I said, Sunday I didn't really do a lot of talking to anybody. I kind of was just in my bag a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think considering how bad it's been for the last about 10 years, pretty much, I think this season overall, we got to still look at the reality that this season was still a success, man, overall, even though it ended on a very sour note.
I'm not saying it wasn't a success. I'm just saying, though, you guys can do whatever you want. I'm still.
Nah, I get it, bro. I know, I get it.
Salty about. I'm just salty about it. That's all. That's who I am, because I take a lot of pride in this team, and I don't want to talk about it too much. I don't want to depress anybody else. I mean, but the whole team was the thing is the whole effort was down. I think that's another reason why I'm upset. It wasn't just one side of the football; it was the entire side of the football, the entire team. Right?
Yeah,
Special teams didn't keep the game in. I mean, it was just a lot, and I don't want to be that guy per se, but at the end of the day, I'll get over it. But I don't think I'll get over it till we kick off next year.
I agree, man. I definitely do agree, man. And Tudo here says Giants have been suffering from easy injuries for a decade, and it all has to do with strengthening, conditioning, proper workouts, lifting weights, correct way of running and training and nutrition. I agree, man. All that. And I mean, Giants, we dealt with some injuries again this year. Obviously, everybody's football. You're going to deal with injuries, but I feel like they did overall come down more than they have been in the past. So there wasn't so things like I said all across the board are just getting a little bit better, man. Getting a little better. We'll see, man. We'll see. But I don't know how you feel if you want to get into the Cowboys right quick, and get to this Cowboys 49ers game.
Sure.
And we'll turn that page, man, right now. And head out to San Fran, man, where this game was a pretty good game on Sunday, man. It was a defensive struggle, man. These offenses were pretty much held in check. Both offenses were pretty much held in check. I believe only 2 touchdowns got scored in this game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, just one apiece for each team. They think they only both, and the rest was just all field goals. So, yeah, it was because the Cowboys had the 1 touchdown and missed the extra point, and then 2. Jesus, Brett Meyer, and then did get 2 more field goals. Let's go to franchise big place, aka Big Place Slay. Thanks for pulling up, bro. Even though I know you just pulled up to talk your shit a little bit, but it's okay, man. You got the right to. Your team earned it.
They can't say much about it,
Yeah. But yeah, this game was a defensive struggle, man. The Cowboys ended up on the short end of the stick here, 19-12. I think this game is Cowboys going to have some work to do this coming in this offseason as well, and they got some decisions to make, and it's going to be some tough ones as well, man. Dak Prescott really, really has ended this season on a sour note, man. Once again, going out there and just not lighting anything up. I mean, the only thing he showed the ability to do consistently was throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb. Other than that, there's anything really promising about Dak Prescott's game, man. So 2 more big interceptions that were costly. Dak, I don't know what to think about Dak. If Dallas Cowboys need to maybe figure out if Dak really is going to be the guy for them. They've invested money in this man, so I don't really know what they're really going to do, what they plan on. And also, we know Tony Pollard did go down in this game, but we also know Tony Pollard was just a lot more successful in this offense this year than Ezekiel Elliott. And they're going to have some decisions to make there, too, because obviously you're not going to want to pay 2 running backs big-time money. So they're going to have to figure something out from that aspect. But what you got, Adam?
Well, first off, the Cowboy defense is legit. I mean, they are a legit, bona fide championship defense that came to play in the game. Obviously, they unfortunately couldn't win the game for their team, which they, at some point, sometimes in a game like this, you need a defensive score to help you out, to kind of push you over that top or a big turnover here and there. They didn't get those turnovers as much. Purdy didn't do too much with the football. They kind of kept it close to the vest with him. But that you got to give credit for that. Defense was absolutely outstanding. The other thing is the 49ers, man. They are a team that is interesting because they can beat you in many different ways. They can bludgeon you. They can score. They can, run the football. And I think, we saw. I think personally they're the team that's going to represent in the Super Bowl. Well, I'm definitely not rooting for the Eagles. I don't care how good they are. I don't care what anybody tells me. I am not rooting for the Eagles. And that could be the death sentence for the 49ers, rooting against them. I haven't been good picking teams this year, so that could be their death sentence. But I just can't sit here and be happy about the Eagles. The one thing I will say is I can't wait to see Joey Bosa against Nick Bosa against that line, that line of the Eagles, because I really want to see how good they are when they stack up. And that Eagle defense against this 49er offense. Remember, the Eagles have 70 sacks. Let that sink in, 70 sacks. If they are the team we think they are, they're going to give this kid Brock Purdy fits. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, 49ers have a conundrum, right? They have a conundrum. I know we're talking about the Cowboys. 49ers have a conundrum now because they still have Jimmy Garoppolo, they have Trey Lance, and now they have Brock Purdy. What do you do there? So, and to kick it over to the Cowboys side, Dak Prescott, I think, is injured. To be honest with you, something is wrong with him. I don't know what it is. I haven't figured it out. The rumor is that he was going through his progressions too fast. I mean, these 49er interceptions, one of them was just terrible. One of them was just like actually, they both were terrible. You're staring down a receiver into red. I mean, it's not like they were wearing white. They were wearing red. And you're just staring like right at them like, hey, how are you? I'm Dak Prescott. I'm still going to force the ball to CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, they were bad. I mean, they were bad. Uh, I don't even know. I mean, maybe you're right about him being not healthy, but if that's the case, then shame on the Cowboys because if he doesn't give your team a best chance to be successful, then he shouldn't be out there, man. And that's just point blank and period. I
Maybe
mean,
he
Cooper
needs
Rush.
corrective eye surgery like Jameson Winston. Maybe
I
he
mean, maybe could be
because the
anything
thing
random.
because the thing is like he did not play this badly the previous year. The previous year he was outstanding, and it was like, well, how do you go from being that good to now falling on your face? Was it Amari Cooper? Was Amari Cooper really that big of a difference that he opened up everything that you just were humming? Or is it the fact that you're falling off a cliff and your thumb hurts and it has a rod in it and you probably have to deal with some pain that might be letting the ball go? I have no idea. I can't. I'm not the coach, and I'm not going to sit there and watch Cowboy film and tell you exactly what's happening. But it just seems to me there's something off with Dak Prescott that normally isn't there. And if this continues, see if I'm the Cowboys, I let it. I chalk it up to injuries and being out a few games, whatever. Fine. Next year, if he comes out like that, I better have an idea. Maybe you bring in a veteran backup, a Jacoby Brissett, a Garner Minshew, a guy that you can say, all right, we don't really like Cooper Rush. But we need a guy here that if we do pull Dak out of the lineup, he can challenge for his spot. Because you invested a lot of money in this guy, he's probably not going anywhere. But if you want to kind of save face, that's the best. That's the best thing I can think of right now.
I mean, yeah, they may need to do it. I mean, they may need to do that. But this interesting thing about this 49er win, it does set up a very impressive matchup for the NFC Championship, man. I mean, it's the two. You can make your case. It's the two best teams in the AFC against the two best teams in the NFC, and the two best teams in the NFC competing this weekend for Super Bowl berths, man. Because I feel like the Buffalo Bills did kind of, I don't know, they kind of lost something for me a little ways, especially down the stretch of this season. So I do believe
A lot happened
Cincinnati.
to them, man.
Yeah, I do. A lot did happen, and I believe Cincinnati and Kansas City were the two top teams in the AFC, even though it wasn't necessarily seeded that way. And undoubtedly, the 49ers and the Eagles were the two best teams in the NFC. That's not even up for debate. So that I think this sets up an epic matchup for the NFC Championship. Maybe one of the best matchups, conference championship matchups in some years. To be quite frank, you're talking about two teams that can get it done on both sides of the football almost equally. I mean, defensively, they're almost, it's almost a wash. I don't even know who to say is which one to really say is truly better defensively. And then offensively, I would give the Eagles probably still a small edge offensively, give them an edge offensively, some of the things they're able to do. But this 49er team will commit to the run, and I think that it's going to make for a great game, man, on Sunday afternoon, man, up in Philly. I think the Eagles they're favored by like 2.5, I believe, because they're at home mainly, but at the same time, I think this one thing I think this 49er team is going to do is come in there, and I think they're going to commit to the run because like I've been saying it. The one thing the Eagles do, man, is they run. The one weakness that you can find on about this Eagle football team is they're a little vulnerable against the run. A team that commits to the run game and really sticks it to them, they're a little vulnerable. And the 49ers, we know, will do that, and they're going to throw a bunch of weapons at them, man. You're going to get Christian McCaffrey, you're going to get Elijah Mitchell, you're going to get Debo Samuel. And they're going to commit to it. They're going to keep doing it, and I think they're going to need to because this Eagle pass rush. You're going to want to protect. You're going to protect the young quarterback in Brock Purdy because this, as good as the Cowboys pass rush is, and Brock Purdy was under a lot of distress on Sunday. This Eagle pass rush is even that much better. So they're going to have to protect him by running the football, and I think they're going to definitely do that, man. And it's going to make for an interesting matchup. And I'm curious to see what the Eagles do to counter that kind of an attack, because a couple teams, like we said, the Eagles' first loss against Washington, that's pretty much the main way Washington beat them was by just committing to the run and running the ball down their throat. So if they get that from this 49ers team, it could be could be a rough day for the Eagles as well, man. So we'll see, man. This is gonna be a great one to check out, man. 70 sacks is great and all, but remember when the Giants defense got that kind of pressure, we were winning Super Bowls and then and then build the trenches. I agree. And then the 49ers can win with Mr. Irrelevant because they have a top 5 O line and front 7. Same with the Eagles. Edge goes to coaching. 49ers win. Ooh. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a close one, man. But I don't know. I still haven't decided which way I really lean on this one, man. But I think it's an epic matchup, and for football fans, I know even if you're not a fan of either one of these football teams, it's going to be a good one to watch. You don't want to miss this one. 3 o'clock. What's that? 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Definitely going to be in front of my TV, tuned in and dialed into this one, man, because it is not going to be for the weak of heart, man. You're going to see a lot. You got the potential defensive player of the year and Nick Bosa going against this Eagle O line, man. I'm curious to see it, man. Go out there and show us why more, because most likely Nick Bosa will be the defensive player of the year. Go out there and show us why, why he got those 18 sacks, man, on the season, bro. This is going to be fun. What you got, Adam, on this one? I guess Adam's a little tied up. But yeah, this game here, man. Are you there? Are you back, Adam?
Oh, no, what I was saying is that the 49ers, to me, are going to win. I just think you want to go out to the team that wins the Super Bowl, but in this case, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. So I want to go out with a team that I like the most. That's the 49ers. And Brock Purdy, if he wins the Super Bowl, my God, what a legend this kid is going to be built, right? He's going to go with not only winning, but getting there first. That'll be the start. Let him get there first. But my God, this kid is, everything he touched has turned to gold. Maybe he's playing for the right franchise, because the 49ers used to be the 49ers because of the mining over in San Francisco. Maybe that's it. Maybe they struck gold with this kid.
I mean, he wins the Super Bowl, man. I think you got to start shopping Trey Lance around. I think you don't even experiment. You don't even pretend to give Trey Lance a shot anymore. I think at this point, if Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, he's your quarterback, and I feel like you got to try to figure out what to do with Trey Lance to try to move him, do something, because I don't see you can validate coming back and even saying this is going to be an open competition. Brock Purdy, who may even win the Offensive Rookie of the Year, he might even stole his performances down the second half of this season, taking over the quarterback spot in the 49ers. So he's one of the finalists for that award as well. He wins that award, goes out and wins the Super Bowl as well, and most likely, potentially, if they win, it's a good chance he'll be the MVP of the damn game. It's a strong chance of that happening as well. You can't even entertain the Trey Lance thing anymore. I mean, I know you invested a lot in picking up and acquiring Trey Lance, but come on, man. You just can't. I know they say you shouldn't lose your job to injuries, but it happens. We see it happen all the time. We wouldn't know who Tom Brady even was if Drew Bledsoe didn't go get injured. The Tom Brady story would have never been written if Drew Bledsoe didn't get knocked out of that game years ago. So it just is what it is, man. And Brock Purdy goes out there and wins a Super Bowl for these guys. I think you can't even. That's it. Trey Lance, we got to shop you out. And then somebody's going to. There's somebody that'll take. I mean, Trey Lance was number 3 overall pick. He still has the upside. He's coming off a big injury. He'll be coming off a big injury, but somebody will bite. You know what I mean? Try to get some of that capital back that you invested in getting him in the first place. I mean, obviously won't be able to get the same thing back, obviously, but try to get a little bit of capital back and just cut your losses. You're still a good football team and continue to build around Brock Purdy. And I don't think you're going to have any other choice.
Well, we'll see. I think it's going to be a fun off season for everyone involved, and I think it'll be worth our time to check it out, right, and see. Because, like I said, if this guy goes on and wins the Super Bowl, He goes on to wins the Super Bowl. That's gonna change everything. It's gonna change how you look at things. It's gonna change how things get done. And it's one of those things where, people are gonna start to think about the quarterback situation differently. You know what I mean? Instead of paying big bucks for a guy, can we put him in a system and still flourish? And that's what you're going to see going forward. So, hey, good luck to Brock Purdy. No good luck to the Eagles. Screw you guys. I hope you go home. And that's it for me.
Unpopular opinion in sports, man, says it's the 49ers, not Purdy, bro. He's the only reason that Dallas game was even close. He can be good, but the 49ers have an elite coach. Think Nick Mullins, Jimmy G, Lance, Purdy. Yeah, and I
Okay.
agree to an extent, but not really, because
Here's where I'm going
This
to go on.
offense has flourished since this offense wasn't doing this in the earlier parts of the years with Jimmy G. What they're doing now, this offense is like completely opened up. George Kittle is back to all pro George Kittle again. He wasn't playing like all pro George Kittle with Jimmy G at the helm in the early part of the year. He's back to all pro status, George Kittle. I mean, his offense is just it's flourishing in a different way. I think you're selling Purdy a little short. I get what you're saying. That it's a good coach team. They have a really well built roster.
Why can't we say that
and
about
some
the
good
Giants?
pieces around them. But at the same time, Brock Purdy has elevated this offense as well. And as good as the weapons already are on the team, he's making them better. I mean, he's making them better. I mean, you can say that CMC is the reason, but I'm not.
See, the thing
I
is,
mean,
this is what I mean. When you don't want to give credit to a guy because you don't want to believe in a guy, right? Whatever biased opinion you have, which is on an unpopular one, which is what your name is, and that's fine. But you got to look at it like this. You can't just say, well, it's only Kittle and it's only McCaffrey and it's only this. When you just said it's an elite coach, but you have to. Jimmy G couldn't get them over the hump. This kid's about to get them to where Jimmy G was in 6 games. Okay, Jimmy G, it took him a while to get there. Nick Mullins, by the way, they didn't win anything with Nick Mullins. So you're wrong there. They went 6-10, if not worse with Nick Mullins. That's how they got Trey Lance, because they had a shitty Nick Mullins on there, and that's why that guy's not a starter. Yes, Shanahan is good, and they put together a good team, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Because if you're going to say the same thing about Brock Purdy, I could say the same thing about the Giants. We could go tit for tat with how that works. Just because things don't look the way they seem, you got to give credit to where it's due. Like you said, Brock Purdy helped annihilate the Seattle Seahawks that game. He followed that next game up with an even bigger game, right? In this game against the Cowboys, he played a good game in this game. He didn't turn it over. You got to give him credit for that. In a moment like this, I mean, if you want to compare quarterbacks right now, the 49ers quarterback did not fold under the pressure like Dak Prescott and our quarterback. Okay? And our team. This guy rose to the occasion, brought his team down to score when he needed to, and didn't give the game away. So, yeah, I can give him credit because he's doing better than a lot of the other veterans that have been in his position. And not for nothing, if you look at the 2 quarterbacks standing in the NFC East or in the NFC, both of them are second round or later picks. So it goes to show you can get guys in the round who fit your system and believe in it. Trust me, this is an anomaly. You're not supposed to see Brock Purdy do this, but he is. And that's a testament to him. That's a testament to the coaching, but I got to give credit where credit's due.
absolutely, Corey. I agree with that. Absolutely, Corey Childs. Thanks for tuning in, man. You said what NBA and NFL teams should you root for? You're from Marion, Alabama. I'm not sure what part of Alabama Marion is in, but but I would assume if you were in that region of the country, football wise, Falcons, Saints, maybe, and same with basketball, Pelicans or the Hawks, bro. I mean, that's the best I can do for you right now. I'm not, like I said, not sure exactly what region of Alabama Marion is in, but I would assume I know Alabama is pretty. Those are probably close, some of the closer professional sports markets to
Well,
anywhere in Alabama.
it's funny. It's funny, unpopular. You say you watch film. I get it. But let me ask you this. Do you watch film with hatred in your eye or like a sense of, comparing it to the Giants? Because when you watch film, you have to watch the entire thing. right? You can't just say, well, it's this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, you put Jimmy G in that same situation. Jimmy G barely had 300 yards a game in the season. This guy, Brock Purdy, puts it all over, put it on him and threw for 300 yards. You could say, yeah, there were dink and dunk passes, but the guy has executed to perfection, damn near. Okay. And yes, CMC is a great addition to the team, but even with CMC there, he's helped the young back out. But when they stopped him in Seattle or he wasn't effective, Brock Purdy rose his game. I'm not trying to challenge your film watching. I'm just saying it seems like every time we discuss a player that doesn't happen to play for the NYG, that player is either garbage, booty, or not as good or overrated. So it can't be all the above, right? The kid is doing what he's doing now. He in his short time of playing, he's playing at a very good status. Now in next year, we could see a different one when the NFL gets actually a chance to study the film and see maybe he does have a bad season. Maybe he is Mr. Irrelevant. But right now, my eyes are telling me it's not just Brock Purdy. It's not just the other guys around him. It's Brock Purdy. I think we use the weapons thing because look at the guy on the other side. Dak Prescott, I got CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Hilton. He had Tony Pollard. He had Dalton Schultz. And they still couldn't score more than a touchdown. So don't just tell me that it's weapons.
I think what I'm with the main point I was getting at myself as well is, and I think Adam is basically kind of saying too, is he's making better use of the weapons than the other guys were before that came before. I mean, Jimmy G wasn't doing the things that Brock Purdy's doing. I mean, he had those same weapons out there as well, and he just wasn't lighting it up the way Brock Purdy is. That's what I think is coming down to. Purdy's making much better use of these weapons, I feel like, and I think that they found lightning in a bottle. I'm not saying he's the next Tom Brady by no means. I'm just saying I think they did find lightning in a bottle with the Mr. Irrelevant pick a year ago. But Tudo, he said, Big Boss Mac, we just wonder how come Purdy learned the offense in 3 months period, but DJ couldn't do it in 4 years. We ain't DJ haters or anything. He's a Giants and we support him, but it's a simple question. So he didn't learn the offense in just 3 months. He was still there like all through their off season and everything like that. So he was there, and I mean he had plenty of time to study because he held a clipboard for the first half of the year. For more than the first half of the year, he was holding the clipboard anyway. So he had plenty of time to study. I mean, he didn't get much. I mean, obviously, he probably wasn't getting many practice reps, but I mean, some guys are just naturals, man, and have an ability to go out there when the lights come on.
Well,
and turn it on,
the
man.
DJ question is different because he has a couple different offensive coordinators. This guy has one system, and his coach knows what to do with him. The problem with Daniel Jones is he had a guy who wanted him to do the whole playbook in one sitting. And if you've ever seen a playbook, it's like 150 pages long. So, and it's back and front. So, that's 300 pages if you really want to look at it. So to ingest all of that, to know all the calls is crazy. But what Kyle Shanahan does, unlike most coaches, is instead of running the offense and tailoring it to say, hey, Brock Purdy, you're going to run my offense regardless of your strengths, he's going to tailor it to his strength and say yes. He said yes, and they're going to make it work for what his strengths are. He's a good game manager, huh? And a great system. And it's all sensitive when it comes to the QB division. I have no stock in San Francisco. I just think the team is better overall. Well, I could say the same thing about Daniel Jones. And when I did, you guys crucified me. So how is it different for Brock Purdy? And you're telling me he's a game manager. And then I tell you the same exact thing about Daniel Jones, but you don't want to hear about it. You don't want to hear that nonsense. But it's okay to say he's a game manager. We're not going to give him any praise because everybody that I listen to that watches film say Brock Purdy's playing pretty well and playing more than just elite. And he's doing other elite statuses. I mean, we can call everybody a game manager. But for this game against the Cowboys, I think had to manage.
Because we go with that. Because look, Daniel Jones. We got a whole offseason to talk about Daniel Jones. Here's the thing about Daniel Jones.
No, I'm just commenting on his game manager.
I got you. But the thing about Daniel Jones is that I think the issue with Daniel Jones thing is that we know the reality is he's been in the league 4 years and we haven't seen him with the kind of with elite receivers elite talent too much. I mean, other than Saquon Barkley,
Let me ask you
that's
this.
it. I
Do
mean
you
that, but
think
I'm
they're
Adam.
holding?
But it is a reality. That's it, though. We have
Do
it.
you, do
No
you
matter
think?
what, we have it.
Do you think they're holding back Brock Purdy? Do you think that he has the whole playbook?
No, I don't think. I mean,
Do you think that? Do you think that
I
they're
think
they're
by now he does. Yeah, he may not have his first few
okay?
starts, but he probably does by now. Yeah.
So I know we're arguing about whether or not he's a game manager or not, and I don't necessarily think that he's not necessarily a game manager because Jimmy G was that as well. But everybody thinks, well, Daniel's going to bring in these guys and he's going to go from what he is to now to what Brock Purdy's doing. But then when Brock Purdy does it, we don't want to give him credit. So that's what annoys me is because you can't have it one way and then the other and just say, well, it's all the weapons and not the quarterback, and it's all the quarterback and not the weapons. It's a combination of
Well,
both. But
the
you also
reality
got to
is,
look at what he's done in the games. Like I don't care that Debo Samuel's got a 60-yard pass and went deep to the house with it. Guess what? He had to throw that ball in stride, hit him in stride so he could make that move up the field. Daniel Jones did that for Evan Ingram in the Tampa Bay game. He hit him in stride and ran 75 yards. Did we take that away from him and say that was a 5-yard pass? No. So you can't have it where you just want to, because to me, I just think
but
that's a narrative thing. That's all it is.
I mean, I get it, but the thing is, still, that's the problem. Is we don't know because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen Daniel Jones in those with that kind of talent and that kind of help on his roster. I mean, that same what you just said. I remember a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember which game it was. Hit Richie James. He would have hit Richie James right in stride. Richie James could still be running right now.
Right.
And he drops the damn football, you know what I mean, or whatever. So
I
it's
mean, but
like,
I can't account for those drops in those players. All I'm saying is that I'm not going to put it down and just say, well, we get this player, Daniel Jones is going to be better because of so and so. I want to believe that Daniel Jones is already good and is going to make this player better because he comes here, not vice versa. And what we're saying right now is, well, we got to bring in big time weapons. So what you're technically telling me is Daniel Jones a game manager? Because if Brock Purdy's in our offense, he's probably doing just as much, if not the same amount with what we got. I'm just saying, like, this is what I mean. We either the guy can either play or he can't play. And then this game manager thing is, I'm not saying he's not a game manager, but don't sell the kid short. He's playing outstanding football right now.
that I agree with. He is playing. He's like I said, he's elevated this 49er offense. It's definitely this 49ers team didn't get off to a great start to this season. Let's keep. I think people forget that as well. What's going on, Eric Seabrook too. By the way, thanks for stopping in, bro.
I don't think
this
they're in this position with what's his face.
I mean, the 49ers team didn't get off to the greatest of starts. And then it's like, and granted, they were already on this massive winning streak before Brock Purdy came in. They turned things around a little bit, but the offense still wasn't cooking. Since Brock Purdy's been in this offense, they're averaging like 30 points a game. That's not what this offense was doing prior to Brock Purdy being their starter.
Right. And look at these numbers. In Cardinals game, 75% completion, 60% completion against the Seahawks, 65% completion against the Cowboys. He has 1,300 yards in the seasons that he plays. Oh, by the way, he has 13 touchdowns. Our starting quarterback, who's played 17 games, has 15 touchdowns. Okay, granted, you want to talk about the weapons, I get it. But, there's guys on the other side. Look at Skylar Thompson. He's a 7th-round pick. How come he's not playing well? Like, how come he didn't play well in the game? He did not play well in Miami. Miami had Brock Purdy playing in their game against Buffalo. They're on to the next round. If they had that level of play, they're on to the next round. They don't.
I mean, all right. I don't know. We done went down this whole thing, and now we're on Brock. I mean, look. End of the day, Brock Purdy is playing well, man. He really is.
Narrative. Listen, look. Let's move on to something else. But the narrative is not whether or not Brock Purdy, whether or not the systems are the same. The issue is whether or not a guy's a game manager, and I mean, even if he is being a game manager, he is also play. It is not a bad thing to say the guy is playing well, especially since he has 1,300 yards in 6 games that he's played and has 4 interceptions. He hasn't turned the ball over.
I mean, yeah, he's not. He's definitely taking care of the football, and you also got to remember he played at least 2 or 3 games without Debo Samuel in the lineup as well. So I mean, that was one major big weapon. Elijah Mitchell been in and out of the lineup all season. So I mean, they got some. They
Well,
got a good roster built over there, but at the same time, Brock Purdy has elevated this offense, like I said, and I think we
right.
can't sell him too short for we can't
Well,
sell him short for
listen,
that.
man.
He's elevated things.
He's not the reason they're in the playoffs. I guess he's not the reason. Because it could have went south with him. Mr. Irrelevant. It could have went south as quickly as we're saying it's good. It could have been bad. It could be Skylar Thompson. They could have been out the playoffs, a meteoric drop to the end, and everyone would have been like, "Hey, we need Jimmy G."
I feel
Right
like
now,
I
right
feel like
now,
when
they're
Brock
saying we
Purdy
don't
took
need Jimmy
over,
G. Huh?
I feel like when Purdy took over, they were still pretty neck and neck with the Seattle Seahawks in that
Right, but
division
if
race.
when he took over, did you think that they were going to be this good still?
No, and not originally. No,
Exactly.
I thought it was going to. I thought shit. I mean, Mr. Relevant, he was third string quarterback. Doesn't usually third string quarterbacks don't come in and show up and show out, man, like he has.
Okay.
So you just gotta,
And Skylar
you
Thompson has
gotta
Tyreek
give him a
Hill.
little bit of
He
credit.
has Mike Gesicki. He has Jalen Waddle. They couldn't do shit against that team. They could not do shit against that team. If you put the way that Brock Purdy's playing on Miami right now behind that line, they're probably in the next round. They may not win the round we just were there, but they're probably in the next round. That's the difference between having a game manager and having a guy that kind of what you said elevated his team. Because, like you said, George Kittle was doing nothing. Nothing. He wasn't even a thought. They're like, man, what's happened to George Kittle? You look at the thing and he had a couple catches. He played a full game, this, that, and that thing. All of a sudden, now,
He's back lighting it up, looking like the top tight end one of the top tight ends again in the league again, which he kind of fell off that cliff prior to this season. So, but let's steer away a little bit and just we don't got much to say about the Washington Commanders. I mean, they're part of this division as well, but it looks like they're ready to make a full commitment to Sam Howell. I want to raise a question to you. Where do we go from? Where does Carson Wentz go from here?
to the unemployment line.
Do you think any team seriously is going to make him a serious offer to come in and be their starting quarterback? Or has that ship
Probably
sailed?
not. Probably more like a Jameis Winston type of deal where you'll be a backup. And if the guy in front of you struggles, you'll come in. I mean, because right now Carson Wentz is his own worst enemy, right? He's not playing well. He might be a wash. And his best bet might be to be a backup player, take a year off and sit behind somebody and not necessarily learn, I guess, but not be in the focal point of the offense, right? So to me, I don't know if he'll play again. If you can't make it on Washington, I don't know where you're going to make it. I mean,
I
that's
think I have an opinion about Carson Wentz. I think because obviously he physically healed from the ACL tear back in 2018. He's physically healed from that, but I think he's never mentally healed from it. I think because he doesn't play the same as he was. Like this dude was literally almost MVP of the league that year. He does not play the same. He goes out there almost like he's something's in his head just holding him back. I mean, the dude still has an elite arm. He has an elite arm still. It's not like he has a noodle arm or anything like that. But I felt like he used to definitely use his legs a lot more prior to the injury, and I feel like I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure what's going on. What's the disconnect here? And the free thing, he just got so broken from the fact that I'm drafting Jalen Hurts. Like, how does that happen? As you're a professional athlete, you're a professional football player. How do you just get mentally broken from them drafting a quarterback in the second round that really wasn't drafted to come in necessarily and be a threat to your job? So I think Carson Wentz's issues are more in his own head, and I can't see a team remotely throwing down any kind of starter money on him. He's going to have to accept being a backup if he wants to continue his career in the NFL, or maybe just go ahead to the CFL or the XFL or the whatever the hell else other leagues they got these days. The USFL about to start up in April, man. Maybe they got a spot for you on them rosters, Carson Wentz. I don't know, but I don't see him starting in the NFL on an NFL team in September.
Well, I mean, like I said, if you bring him in to be a bridge quarterback or something like that, he might have a job. The reason he'll have a job, he's a first overall pick. That sticks with you wherever you go. Somebody will rather take a chance on a Carson Wentz than a Nick Mullins, unless it's a financial thing. But they'll say, hey, you never know, right? Like he's going to be a backup. Will he be a hot commodity backup? I don't know. I think he's going to get money like Jameis Winston. If he goes to like a team like New Orleans, like a team that needs it, like New Orleans, I don't know if they're going to need Carson Wentz, but if Sean Payton were to come back and say, listen, man, I can figure out what's wrong with you. Come play with me, right? Then it might be a different story. If he goes to a place where, because the place that he went to didn't have good established, like the Colts. I don't know what happened there, but I watched Hard Knocks, and you see the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations. But I wonder if they gave him another year, how would he have done there? I know their year was bad, and he had a bad game against Jacksonville, but you didn't get much better than Matt Ryan. Let's be real.
Right. Any better with Matt Ryan.
So maybe if you left Carson Wentz in, and then Carson Wentz leaves and goes to Washington, which is terrible because Scott Turner is already terrible. So you're already in a bad situation. And we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I think when we hear the name Carson Wentz, it's going to probably be in relief duty because somebody's starter has gone down and they need a quarterback fixed quickly.
Absolutely agree. That's what I said. I think it'll be only a desperation move. If he's a starter for anybody next year, it'll be pretty much some kind of desperation situation.
I mean, hell, Nick Foles has a job, so
That's not. But I mean, Carson Wentz also has to be willing to accept the role, though. You know what I mean? Like, the thing about high draft picks, I believe he was number 2 overall pick too, not number 1, Adam, by the way. But at the same time,
what I meant is he's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, top pick. And these guys get in their own mind. We're gonna see Baker Mayfield kind of be dealing with the same thing this offseason, So I'm just curious. Like these guys, they think I'm not a backup. I was a top draft pick. I'm a starter still. I mean, he's still a relatively young guy. Carson Wentz ain't some old ass man. I mean, he just came in the league in 2016. So it's like these guys also have to accept the roles that are presented to them. And I just, like I said, believe there's nothing more than a backup role at best going to be presented to Carson Wentz. Sure, he'll be probably one of the better backups in the league. He could be known as that, but I just don't think that he can really. I don't think he has leverage to for anything much more than that, and he's going to have to be willing to also accept that role.
I feel like he's going to be like I said with the Saints, brought in with a collective group of quarterbacks to hopefully, see who to see who wins the job. Hell, maybe going to Kansas City might be a good spot for him. Go learn under Andy Reid, something like that. And so for me, if I were to bring in Carson Wentz, it's going to be like a team like, let's say, Houston, right? Who has a young quarterback. We'll bring in this veteran presence for a backup. I mean, we really want to start the kid, but we have this guy as a backup, like Joe Flacco type of situation where you don't necessarily want him to be a starter, but you have him in there for a young guy. I could see that happening. Whether or not he takes that role, thankfully for him, there's a lot of positions, a lot of teams that are in need of quarterbacks. And regardless, people are going to want to do something, and they're going to look down the line, and they're going to say, hey, do I want Carson Wentz or do I want, this guy, Gardner Minshew, and if there's he did have a good season. He went with Frank Reich. Maybe wherever Frank Reich goes, as an offensive coordinator, maybe that's where he'll go. And maybe Frank Reich, instead of being the head coach, can be the offensive coordinator and work with him. I don't know. Right now, high-priced backup is what I'd say, and that's not a bad thing in the NFL. We've seen all season. Feels like half the league's quarterbacks went down this year. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a huge market for good quality backup quarterbacks, and as we see,
it's growing.
Backup quarterbacks are improving because teams are taking that position more seriously on their depth charts. So we're not
because of the RPO.
Yeah, once upon a time, backup quarterbacks were your second string was almost as bad as your third string. I mean, they would just forget about it. I mean, a guy on the roster.
I mean, when you're Giant fans, you have a guy like Eli Manning who plays every game in and out. That's where it is.
I mean, yeah, most definitely. But what's going on, Wells? Thanks for stopping in too, bro. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for tuning in to the show, man.
Tom, my man, Tom Lockery coming after unopinion sports. I mean,
Tom Lowry. Where there is fire, there is smoke, and every sign points to Wentz being a personality clash wherever he goes. I don't think you want him polluting your quarterback room for a young guy. It's another
that
good
is
valid
true.
point, man.
That is true.
Another good valid point.
But if we're just talking about value as a terms of what it is, that's what you would do. Now, I don't know what Carson Wentz is like in the locker room. I think he is a bit of a douche, but he's going to get by on being the second overall pick or wherever he was drafted, and people are going to use him. That's I hate to tell you that's a fact in the NFL. It just is. You look at a guy's draft status, you look at where they are, and then it's like, well, for example, Darius Slayton, right? He's a 5th round pick. So when he drops a football or doesn't get 1,000 yards, you're like, well, he's a 5th round pick, right? We expected that out of a 5th round guy. So a first round guy, he's a bust for being a first rounder, but he's better than ever. Someone thought highly enough to pick him in the first round. A lot of people thought he was a first round talent. There's going to be some yo-yo out there who's going to be like, yeah, let's bring him in as a backup. What's the worst that can happen? Now, whether he take that, I don't know.
Well, that's what it's going to come down to. He has value as a backup quarterback right now still. He currently still has value, at least as a backup quarterback. I think he just has no value right now as a starter. But at the same time, also, this is just the thing about, like I said, with the mental thing with Wentz is because he clearly has all the physical tools still. He has the physical tools. I mean, like I said, this guy does not have a noodle arm. He can still launch that thing downfield with the best of them, man. It's just that it's just been some kind of disconnect with him. And he's going to have to take maybe a couple of years to take a scale back, figure it out, and maybe he can get his career back on track. We never know, man. I mean, sometimes it happens with guys like that.
Till they're damn near 40 these days, right? So
I mean, some guys can kind of figure it out after having to humble themselves a little bit.
Like I think the perfect situation would be like Kansas City, a team where they're winning. He's not he doesn't have to be the starter. He can come in there, he can learn, or even like the Buffalo Bills, he can come in and learn behind Josh Allen, sit there, watch the offense, not have pressure on him, right? And then maybe if he comes in spot duty when you blow a team out and performs, he can use that like Mitchell Trubisky did and launch himself back into an NFL job.
I mean, there's definitely a possibility. Like I said, it's going to mostly come down to his own Carson Wentz, though, when it comes to that, like I said, because this guy is going to have to make the decision to accept what teams are going to be offering him, and I feel like there's going to just be a bunch of backup jobs he's going to be getting offered. Like you brought up a good point with Kansas City with Andy Reid. Andy Reid is where he enjoyed is the coach he enjoyed his initial success with to start his career.
No, he was with Doug Peterson the entire time.
The whole Andy Reid's last season was the year before they got Carson Wentz, I believe. Yeah, I guess so.
No, they went. But, I looked it up last time. I hate to be looking up Eagles stuff, but I was like, who the hell was in between Andy Reid and Doug Peterson? It was Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was the quarterback.
I forgot
the coach.
I totally forgot about Chip. I just erased Chip Kelly from my mind, bro. Thank you. I did totally too. Erased him from my mind. I forgot all about him completely.
The only reason I know that is because I looked it up literally. I think it was last night I was looking because I woke up this morning and Doug Peterson's fat face is still left on my phone. So I'm assuming I looked it up last night. Like, who the heck? Like, did the Eagles go from Andy Reid to Doug Peterson to now Nick Sirianni?
Totally
and I'm like, what happened? And then of course I find out that there's Chip Kelly involved, and that's the reason. It's you forget 2013 to 2015 because they were so terrible.
I completely erased those Chip Kelly years away from.
Although Nick Foles had a good year under Nick Chip Kelly his first year.
What's going on, Jeff? Man, thanks for stopping in, bro. Appreciate you, man. And we will be back in 2023, man. But all right, that was our Washington Commanders news of the week. That was it. It wasn't even really news. It was just a topic we decided to discuss.
News is they use, Titleist golf balls instead of Nike golf balls. You know what I mean?
They are part of the NFC East. We had to show them a little bit of love on the show, man. Have at least a topic of discussion with them, man. But let's get to some more offseason talk, man. Let's go back to the Giants again for a little bit here, man. What part of the offseason are you most excited about for the New York Giants?
I'm excited for all of it. I'm a guy that likes to follow prospects and do my digging and investigating. So, the East-West Shrine game, the Senior Bowl, there's going to be – I like watching NFL Network now towards the end of the year. But for me, for the Giants, it's going to be a fun offseason because we got 20 guys that are going to have to be made decisions on. And so we'll see what happens this year. I think there's guys that we talk about every day, Barkley Jones, guys like that. But there's guys like Leonard Williams, there's guys like Dexter Lawrence, other guys like that what do we want to do with them? And so for me, I'm just looking forward to seeing what Joe Shane can do in offseason number 2. Their rookie class is for all intents and purposes wasn't too bad. Yes, they all get injured, but we're still excited about most of the players on that rookie class. I'm looking forward to see what he does with this rookie class, a different type of draft. It's very deep with cornerback. It's got some deep receivers in this draft. So, are we going to go build the defense, or we're going to go middle linebacker? Because right now we have no middle linebackers. So I'm just excited for the whole thing. The draft is where I really love. I just love the offseason. That's why I talk about it. That's why when I've studied players throughout the year, not just when our season tanks, I also look at them throughout the year. If I hear about a guy, I go look at him and, see what measurables that I have notes on. You know what I mean? I look at different things. We'll get into those specific things when draft comes up on what I'm looking for. But right now there's some receivers I'm looking at. Nobody in the free agency market really moves me. I don't know if they'll go back with the Odell Beckham thing. I hope not, but we'll see.
Well, look, so who would you guys target in the draft? I mean, honestly, I don't follow the college guys that way. I got to get into looking into some of these guys. I take the positions the Giants are desperate need of, and I follow some of those guys a little bit and check out some of those guys, look into them. Myself personally, as things stand right now, I would love to see the Giants get whoever is the best middle linebacker available. When it's their selection, I would love to see that happen. But at the same time, this brings me to what I just asked, back to the question I just asked Adam about what part of the offseason am I most excited about seeing. And for me, I want to get this free agent. I want to get the first free agency period kicked off, man. I want to, because that kind of will dictate to you what kind of direction the team might be headed for in the draft. What kind of, because you sign certain free agents, and all of a sudden that might change completely the dynamic of how you were going to draft, or what you might want to be looking for in the draft. And it's a couple good prospects out there. I mean, there's a tight end from Notre Dame that Coach Ed has been pumping up and talking about a lot about, and I looked the kid up, and that dude looks like he's the kind of tight end that would fit in perfectly on this New York Giant football team. So we're gonna see, like I said, after we get through that first period of free agency, see what kind of spots we address there, whether it's signing our own guys back and grabbing some new guys, some new talent from other teams, and then I can kind of be a little more prepared about how we might attack the draft. This just gives you another way to look at it after you see that first free agency period come to an end, and you kind of get some holes already filled in. It might change the way you want to go in the draft. I mean, we got a lot of different ways we can go. So,
well, I think this year is going to be similar to 2021 for me, where I was that year. I was looking up a lot of receivers because the Giants were into Devontae Smith and trading Waddle and all that. So, I really studied some of the receivers in that draft. Probably going to study the receivers in this draft. I like the tight end kid. Think he'd be a good fit. Or now, right now, the Giants are 25, I think, 25, 26. I could be wrong. I think they're 25 in the draft. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I wouldn't mind them taking a corner, the kid from Penn State, Tracy Porter Jr. I think a solid corner to pair up outside Adoree Jackson with, and a corner in the first round means you're investing in the position, not taking some guy from college in Central Florida that you've never really heard about that you're trying to play inside, outside. I think there's a linebacker from Oklahoma who's pretty good. I wouldn't mind in the first round. And then the receivers from USC and Ohio State. There's a couple guys there, that I like. Addison, I'm starting to really fall in love with Addison. At first I didn't, but now I'm starting to watch him a little more. And because the thing is, this is what we got to look at. Do we want miniature receivers? We have a lot of those already, right? We have a lot of small guys.
Is that the one from USC that you're talking about?
Yes.
I've actually seen a couple of mock drafts already that's mocked that guy to the Giants, that receiver from USC.
But I like him in terms of what he can bring. What we need is a real number one. I like Isaiah Hodgins, but I don't know what he's going to be. Some people say he can't be a number two. Some people say he can be a number two. But Porter Jr. would be my if I'm going defense and he's there. I don't care about a middle linebacker right away. I'd probably take him just to solidify my corner spot, and then maybe in the second because I think a receiver you can get in many ways, right? Look at George Pickens; he got drafted in the second round. Jordan Palmer or Josh Palmer of the LA Chargers, he was in the fourth round. I mean, we got Darius Slayton, Campbell. I'm not saying I want Darius Slayton, but what I'm saying is you can get guys deep, and I think it's gonna be a collective committee of guys. But if I'm the Giants, you have the luxury outside of maybe wide receiver to pick the best player available. If the receiver that you want is not on the board, I would not reach for a receiver in this draft. The thing is also you got to ask yourself this: will they make a trade? Because you do have a lot of draft capital. What are they willing to do? Are they going to trade some of these players? Will they trade some guys on their own team? Will they trade for guys? I don't think they should trade for a receiver because if you did that, you should have did it in season where we could have had the guy already and he would have already been ahead of the 8 ball. If you take a guy now, you're kind of giving him the same learning curve as a rookie, right? So let's bring in a guy who can learn the system. But we'll see. There's a lot of draft picks, and I'm looking forward to March 7th is a big deal because that's when the deadline for tags go out, franchise tags, transition tags. So that day, circle it on your calendar. That'll kind of tell you where they're at in negotiations with some of these players.
Well, you guys were talking about this kid Addison. You guys know a lot more familiar with him than I am, so I'm just going to ask a question, and you can shut me down if I'm just completely wrong. But do you think maybe his draft stock is risen to what it is? Maybe partially to the success of Amon-Ra St. Brown coming out of the same program and
Well,
having great success in Detroit.
Here's the thing. I think Addison, if I'm not mistaken, came from Pittsburgh. So he really won the Biletnikoff Award then. And do I think am I putting Jordan Addison there and saying, well, because he's coming out of USC, does that give him a different leg up? No, not really. I think he played at Pittsburgh. I was right. He had 1,500 yards with Kenny Pickett, and he transferred in. I think he's more than a slot receiver, personally, to me. He right now is at 175. Who knows how much that is? He's about 6 feet. He only had 580 something yards, but he only played 7 games last season. I think he's a game-breaking player. You can use him on kick returns. You can use him on punt returns. And I think he'll give them Fred Biletnikoff is one of the highest awards you can get as a receiver. So this guy getting that award at Pitt as a Pitt Panther is pretty good.
Probably the first one since played for the Cardinals.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Right now. Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah.
Right. So James Washington, who's on our team, I think he won the Biletnikoff Award. Jerry Jeudy, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Jordan Addison in 2021, and this year Jalen Hyatt won the Biletnikoff Award. So there's some hits and misses on this Biletnikoff Award from Bobby Ingram in Penn State, Terry Glenn, Marcus Harris, Randy Moss won it, Troy Edwards, some Hall of Famers are on here, Antonio Bryant. So it means you're the best receiver, and I think that could translate well. And for the Giants, we need more than one receiver. So I think they need a skyscraper. I like the kid from Wake Forest. I think he's also good, 6'4", 200 pounds, a little on the slim side, but I like him. Let me get his name.
Yeah,
it might be in the chat.
With too many Wake Forest football players, unfortunately.
I think it's yes. A.T. Perry is the player. I think he's 6'5", 205. And he's a guy that I would think of if the Giants get him in the second round. Maybe that's a guy you want to kind of look at. I mean, he did have 81 catches for 1,091 yards. And the Giants haven't had they've had Kenny Golladay, but this could be their Kenny Golladay. Bring him in. He's had a pretty good last couple of years. 2021, 1,200 yards, 15 TDs. This year, over 1,000 yards and 11 TDs. So, that's a guy that's on my radar. Don't know where he'll be drafted, but these are some of the guys I like to line up. The
only thing about receivers is I feel like when you look around the league, you see so many great receivers that weren't even first round picks. I mean, I mean, Devontae Adams in 26 back in 2014 or whatever. That was like third round pick or something like that. And
You're all right about
obviously,
that.
he's a top 5 guy in the league right now, top 3 receiver in the league right now, currently. So how many receivers got drafted ahead of him in that same draft that
Well, I
don't
mean,
even
Tyreek
anywhere
Hill's a
near his
fifth-round pick.
level?
I mean,
Exactly.
Tyreek Hill's a
Tyreek Hill was a
fifth-round pick.
guy that came in the league and was for his first couple of years was really just a special team guy until he finally got a real opportunity on offense and exploded, and
Same thing
ran
with
with it.
Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Antonio Brown was he undrafted? I think he was undrafted. I don't even think he was drafted.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think he was drafted or he was a late-round pick.
One or the other.
What it means is that if you do but think about it. Then for every fifth-round pick, you've got a Darius Slayton and some other guys who are not great, right? So it's not a formula to live by, but I understand what you're saying. If Porter Jr. is on there and a wide receiver is on there, I'm probably going with Porter Jr. Tracy Porter Jr.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you there in terms of I can find, like I said, this A.T. Perry kid. Unless he blows up the combine, he might be a second round pick. If I can somehow find my way, he finds his way down to me in the late second round. That's a guy value wise, I'm picking him. And the Giants have had pretty good success with second round receivers in their history. I mean, Sterling Shepard, Reuben Randall. There was another one that came out that was in the second round, Steve Smith. So there have been some decent second round receivers for the Giants to look at, and I think they're going to look at a couple. I think you need to define the roles this time. I like Richie James, but I don't think he's a long term player here, right? Isaiah Hodgins, you got to figure out if that guy's going to be your number 1, 2, or 3 because he's got traits to fit those roles, right?
Yeah,
so,
I agree. I was good.
So it is what it is, I mean, I don't know, man. If you really want to believe in Daniel Jones, you're probably going to pick a guy in the first round, right? Because you're going to say, listen, Daniel, we want to not mess this up. We're going to pick one in the second round. I think the bust rate for receivers is a lot less in terms of getting a guy later, like you said. So I'd probably go with a cornerback, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. Like I said, and like I previously said, that first stage of free agency will determine or make these decisions a little bit more clear to us all. You know what I mean? Like you'll see it from a different lens because you'll see some of the moves you've already made, and it still may not even affect much of anything. Like you said, some guys the talent is just where you just if they're sitting there you can't turn them down. I mean, look at the Cincinnati Bengals a few years ago. They drafted T. Higgins the one season, and he had a successful rookie season. The very next year, it didn't stop them from using that number 3 overall pick or whatever pick it was on Jamar Chase. You know what I mean? It didn't deter them from doing that because sometimes guys the talent just is what it is, and you just can't turn that down when it's staring you right in the face. So
it's like what Ernie Accorsi said. You can never have too many pass rushers. Maybe you can never have too many playmakers, right? Guys who can take the top off defense. But here's the thing. The Giants need a whole revamped core. They need a whole revamped thing. So you're going to see free agency guys come in here. You're going to see rookie guys come in here. And they're really going to try to establish that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm hoping they can get a guy. Like, to me, there's a guy out of Ole Miss. I forget what his name is. I think it's Bingo or something like that. Mingo might be his name. I'm pronouncing it wrong. But he's got the measurables I like. I start with the measurables first and say, okay, what do you got for me, right? And then I go from there, and then I watch this film and try to see if I can equate his measurables to what the Giants do, right? So let me see if I can get his name. There's going to be a lot of guys you're going to hear me, talk about this year. That are going to be they're going to be players because I've looked them up. Jonathan Mingo, that's the guy's name. 6'2" receiver out of Ole Miss. I think he's coming out. I could be wrong. He may not, but he's 6'2", 225 pounds. That's like Traylon Burks style right there. That's a guy, reminds me of Akeem Nicks, kind of a big, lanky guy that's going to be able to go up and get it. Like Akeem Nicks, I loved Akeem Nicks coming out in that draft in 2009. I thought he was an absolute stud. I thought he was silky smooth. When I loved him so much, then he got injured. Then you had Odell Beckham's draft, who he wasn't even the top guy picked. It was Sammy Watkins that year out of Clemson. And it goes on to, and when I watched Odell, I was like, I like Odell, but in his highlights, because of how they played him in college, he never really had too many breakaway runs. He made some catches, got knocked out of bounds. So I'm like, oh, this guy's going to be good. Little did I know he was going to have the breakout that he had. Now there are some measurable traits that he had. His shuttle time was off the charts, and his hip movements were insane. And I know you guys don't care about hip movement, but the way that he, would turn his hips allowed him to have an advantage over the defender. If you go watch the game against the Eagles in, I think it's 2015, I could be wrong, 2016, one of those, Eli is sending him on a slant and go route. And he basically has Sheldon Brown going to the facing his outside. He spins his hips so quickly and turns to the inside that the corner can't get around fast enough. So he has to do a full turnaround and the ball hits him in stride and he's gone for 6. So those type of traits you'll learn about coming out. And that's why the draft, the 40 time is not always the main thing, because when they do that simultaneous 40-yard run, Odell Beckham Jr. is like in the middle. He's like average. But what you don't see is the acceleration that Odell gets on his 20 yards. So his first 20 yards are pretty fast. He gets up to his top speed a lot faster than some other guys, which allows you to do what he does. And that's when he was in his prime, be one of the best receivers in the game.
Absolutely. Unpopular opinion, sports. Maybe you can get Higgins for a second or Hopkins for a third and draft a guy with your third and pair them with Robinson and Hodgins. Look, right now I think the options are open. All those options are kind of open. I mean, obviously those teams will have to be. Well, obviously DeAndre Hopkins
I'd
has
rather go
expressed
for
his interest
Higgins.
in wanting to get out of Arizona. And Higgins, right now, as of what we know right now, he's not on the market at all in Cincinnati.
Well, he'll be untouchable. He'll be untouchable. If they win the Super Bowl or get to the Super Bowl, you're going to give up a king's ransom for that guy. The only thing I don't want about Hopkins is he's just older. That's it. I don't want to invest a lot of money in a guy that A, is 1 PED suspension away from being out the year, and 2, is just a little older. Now I know he's good, and he would be great here. But if we were like, if you're telling me this is a rebuilding team, then just rebuild it. Get a receiver.
I kind of do tend to agree with that. I mean, Hopkins is still playing at a very high level, but I do tend to agree with that opinion, Adam. Like at this point, I'm not sure if I want to give up draft capital for a guy that's quite that veteran. You know what I mean? At this point on this team, this is the young New York Giant team, and it's not like we're only a receiver away. You know what I mean? So.
If you were to bring him in and you're telling me like you're going to get like a couple years like Plaxico Burress out of him, or you bring him in a couple years and you're guaranteed a Super Bowl. Well, we agree on something, then you do it. I believe if you wanted to waste draft capital, you should have did it in season. And the only reason why I say that is because if you did it in season, you're helping your team then, and you're helping your team now, and then you're helping your team forever. No, I'm just kidding. You're helping your team down the road, right? So that's why I would have brought in a Jerry Jeudy, because to me, Jerry Jeudy, you're still under his rookie deal. You don't have to really extend him. You're going to probably have to extend Hopkins, or at least eat some of his cap hit. And for a guy that is that old, which I love, don't get me wrong, if they signed Hopkins today, I'd be like, all right, that's good. But to me, business-wise, how long are we talking here, right? Like, he's going to be 32. What, you have him for 3 years, he's 35. You don't get that much better, unless you're Jerry Rice or Larry Fitzgerald. Father Time catches up with everybody.
I mean, it does. I mean, but like you said, Hopkins, he is still playing at a very high level. And at the end of the day, I would not be upset by no means if they made that move either. I wouldn't definitely not be going to be mad at it. I just not sure if that's the direction the team wants to go in with the way the roster is constructed and being constructed. I feel like you want to keep the youth movement going a little bit and just kind of keep building this thing up, bringing your guys in here via the draft. Or free agency.
How many guys we had over 30-something years old? I don't even think we have one. Maybe like the kicker.
Well, I'm not even sure. Well, Graham Gano's got to be over 30 for sure. Yeah,
that guy he doesn't look old, but he's old. But, I mean, my point is like, just build it to the draft right now. Free agency is going to come. You're going to have a chance to trade for guys next year as well. It's not like you don't trade for them now, you can't trade for them later. You know what I mean? So, try to build through. I mean, you got 11 draft picks. Why not try to build a few? Make some moves. Maybe if somebody wants somebody on your team, you get rid of them. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. This is what's so exciting about the offseason, and Joe Shane and Brandon Brown and those guys get together. We're going to really see a plan. And it's going to start with our free agency, right? It's going to start with the talks with Barkley, the talks with Jones, how those go, and then, Leonard Williams down the road. And then we're going to see where the chips fall where they may when they get guys in here, because I don't know if they're going to bring in a lot of guys. I don't know what they're going to go for. Me, if you're going to go big game hunting, you go for Tremont Edmonds of the Buffalo Bills. He's already on the golf course, so you know that you can kind of talk to him. I would like him. Roquan Smith has already been extended, but I don't want Lamont David or Levant David from the the Buccaneers. He's older. The guy that I would want would be Edmonds. If I can't get Edmonds, I'm going to draft a guy. The receiver. I would do the same thing. If I can't get Jerry Jeudy, I'm not gonna waste money on a guy who's older.
I can I can stand behind you on that point, man. I mean, like I said, it's not that like I said, not that by no means would be upset with the acquisition of DeAndre Hopkins by no means, but at the same time, I just don't think that's necessarily the direction the team probably is looking to go in from just the way they're building this roster. Got one more quick New York Giant question, possibly. Just this is a one we can have a little fun with, I guess. John Mara, the owner,
Oh
will
boy.
he be able? Do you think he will, with the successes of this football team this past season, be able to contain himself and stay the hell out of Joe Shane's way and let this man do the job that he hired him to do? Do-
I'm going to say yes and no. Yes, because John Mara's excited and he'll probably let him do it, but no, because he's John Mara and he always has to have his toe in the water, right? He always has to have something. There's a reason why guys aren't gone. It's because John Mara likes him. Sterling Shepard's probably going to have a job because John Mara likes him. Now, Joe Shane may say he likes him in the pressers, but that doesn't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like John Mara is a good guy. I think he gets a lot of guff for what he's done. I think it took a lot of balls for him to rip the Band-Aid off last year and get rid of Judge, because I know that he didn't want to do that. And right now Dable has the keys to the city. He went to the playoffs, so you're gonna have to basically pull the clipboard out of his cold dead hands at this point, unless something goes terribly wrong. Dable has carte blanche here, but I think they're not gonna. I don't think he's gonna meddle as much as he did with previous regimes. Let's put it that way. I think he's gonna have his discussions. They're gonna run things by him. He'll probably have the final say on something. But it's like, we'll see. Like, for example, if they want to get rid of Daniel Jones, I could easily see him saying, "No, I love Daniel. He stays." You know what I mean?
Well, let's hope for the better. I want John. I hope John Mara can control himself, stay out of the way, let Joe Shane, Brian Dable, and company continue to build this thing up, man. Because by him taking a little bit of a back seat this past season, we've seen things change and shift, man. By him not, throwing the weight of his owner weight around and saying, "Look, I want this. I want, like you said, I want to keep this guy, this guy, this guy. I want look."
Well, a lot of the situations that he brought in were clusterfucks. I mean, McAdoo was a clusterfuck. Okay, he had Jerry Reese, but Jerry Reese didn't really like McAdoo. McAdoo didn't really like Jerry Reese, so they fire Jerry Reese, right? And then they fire Ben McAdoo because of his idioticness. Then they bring in Dave Gettleman, who we need ties to the Giants, blah, 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 blah. Bring in ties to the Giants. They bring in Pat Shermer, who's another clusterfuck of a coach. So he kind of has to sit there and come in there. And, John Mayer is a very fan-oriented owner. Like, the fans kind of sway what he does, really. He basically, I guess, unlike Vince McMahon, he listens to them sometimes too much, and sometimes, too little. But he does hear the fans complain. And so if he gets in Joe Judge, he wasn't hiring Joe Judge without hiring Jason Garrett. Let's be honest. He wanted that, security blanket if shit hit the fan. And shit did hit the fan, but it went the opposite way. So now he has to do something different. Stay out of the way. Joe Shane came here on the recommendation of Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells probably says, don't take that job unless John Mara is going to give you his word that he's not going to be up your ass about certain things. And I'm sure John Mara is going to be like, listen, I'm the owner of the team. I need to know what's going on. I need to know.
He does. I mean, that's fine, but You gotta let your guys that you hire do the job you hire them to do.
And I think they're
At
doing
the
that
same
for the first
time,
time
yeah.
in a while. It's not like, we have to coddle and hold Joe Judge's hand as we go through this, right? Brian Dable has more command of the offense. The one thing I will say that irked me with Dable, and hopefully it doesn't come back to bite him, and it's maybe we'll say it's something I'm just being an idiot about. But when they were dancing around the locker room and practice, I thought they were a little too loose. And I think sometimes, that's what happened with Jim Fossil in the Super Bowl. They went to the Super Bowl and they were loosey goose, and they got the doors kicked in. This one they were loosey goose, and they got the doors kicked in. So I'm hoping that kind of. I'm not saying don't have fun in the locker room. I'm not saying that. I'm saying let's dial it back on playoff weeks. Let's not always have the cameras catching us doing our do that at the end of practice. You want to do a dance at the end of practice? Fine. You want to do something later on. Don't let it leak out because you've been so. The one thing I will say about this regime, they don't let leaks out. And when they do let leaks out, they fire that person. Case in point, Kadarius Toney probably was supposed to be traded in April, probably May, June, or July, and even August. But because of Pat Leonard ruined it. Somebody in there, Chris Pettit probably, or one of the bitter giant people who was quitting, ran their mouth, and the leak comes out. The biggest leak in another thing. Look at the draft. No one thought we were getting Kayvon Thibodeau. No one thought we were getting Kayvon Thibodeau. John's like, we'll be lucky to get him. We hope to get him. And guess what? They got him because people didn't think they were interested in him. No one traded up to go get him, so they thought they could fall. Biggest thing they did, and I think you're going to see more of that, more buttoned upness when it comes to draft picks, more buttoned upness when it comes to free agency. You're not going to know what the Giants are going to do. They used to show you their hand all the time, like, we're going to do this, and then teams would jump in front of them, or we're going to do that, or a leak would come out, and then Dave Gettleman had a chance to get Micah Parsons.
That happened recently. We can go back to a couple years ago in the draft where that basically happened. I believe it was no secret that the New York Giants had Devontae Smith firmly on their targets and their radar. I mean, that was clearly going to be the pick for the New York Giants at that spot, and the Eagles jumped right in front of them.
Exactly.
So
and that happens because of leaks, right? Because it's one thing for you and me or the media, content creators, whoever, but yeah, we think the Giants would do this, and this, right? It's another thing when it starts to hit the desk. And listen, I've been in that locker room. It's not hard to hear stuff, hear conversations. He said, she said, and then next thing you know, anonymous source, bingo, bango, your leak is out. And whether it's on purpose, whether it's not on purpose, sometimes there's design leaks. For example, I think somebody said Kayvon Thibodeau didn't work hard. I don't know who that somebody is, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were an NY on their shirt. You know what I'm saying? When that leak about Kayvon, about, he doesn't, these are types of things that these guys do.
What's going on, homie, man? That's my homie I work with, man. He said, I hope the Eagles lose bad.
Well,
I mean,
from
we
your
all
lips
hope
to
that
God
as
here.
Giant fans, yeah, we as Giant fans, we all do. We definitely hope the Eagles, but I can't root for the success of the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, man. But we're gonna see. It's gonna be a good ass game, I believe.
Well,
With that being said, we move. Go ahead.
It's interesting that we bring up the Eagles because I think they're going to have a fascinating offseason as well. Because depending on how far they go, whether it ends on Sunday or in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, it's going to be fascinating. They got a lot of guys that are on 1-year deals. I don't know how much cap space they're going to have. Their offense is loaded. That's the one thing I will say. Their offense is pretty loaded. It's going to have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. The offensive line is pretty regularly bring in depth pieces there. And they have their quarterback who they're probably going to have to pay after this season, depending on where he goes. Defensively, that defensive line might not be here. I know Fletcher Cox is on the mend. Bradbury's on a 1-year deal. Gardner Johnson's on a 1-year deal. So it's going to be fascinating to see if they can pay all these guys what they do. Mind you, they have a top 5 pick, which somehow the Eagles, by hook or by crook, always find a way to get their asses in the top 10. Every friggin' year. They're little sneaks. They probably have photos of some owners or some shit when they negotiate. Like, oh, yeah, remember that? Remember that cruise you took? Yeah, I took pictures of you.
Who do I like in the Chiefs Bengals game? Or I'll tell you who I like. I like the Bengals, And I like the Bengals to go down there because I feel like the Chiefs are blowing smoke up all our asses, and Patrick Mahomes is going to be a shell of himself out there on that field on Sunday. They're putting him out there because I guess he is still capable of standing on his 2 feet. But let's face it, he's not going to be able to move around very well, probably. And granted, we know the arm talent of Patrick Mahomes, but I think that's not going to be quite enough in this one, man. And I think Cincinnati is going to get them because they're going to get a less than 100% Patrick Mahomes, man, on Sunday. And I know probably Patrick Mahomes at 90%, 80% is still good enough to beat most teams, but I don't think it's good enough to beat a team as good as Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, I like the Bengals. A friend of mine informed me that they were my second favorite team growing up. He reminded me, he's like, remember when we were at your house and you said your second favorite team was the Bengals? You're probably loving the Bengals right now. And he's right. I've always had an affinity for the Bengals, and I want them to win. I love Joe Burrow. I think, I have my top three quarterbacks in no particular order are Mahomes, Burrow, and Herbert. I love watching those three guys. Mahomes especially, but Burrow he's doing some special things. It's interesting because a lot of people thought these Bengals wouldn't be here. They started out their season, they had a rocky start. Their quarterback didn't practice all training camp long, and you can tell he didn't have training camp practice. And I think they played the Cowboys, and we were mentioning that he's got to get his sea legs under him because he hadn't played yet, right? This is like his preseason, and well, guess what? It was true. When you get your appendix out and you lose weight and you have to get back on it, it takes a while. And it got him going. And I thought they were going to have a hangover. They didn't. They're right in the prime position. They're on the road, playing again with house money. But this time there's expectation of they deserve to be there. And they went in there and they beat the Bills. They beat that ass on the Bills. And like I said last week on one of these streams, I don't know which one it was, I go on a lot, is if the Bengals get a chance to do what Miami did, the Bills are going home. And they did. They got turnovers. They scored points when they needed to. They made Josh Allen do what Josh Allen's done all year, turn the ball over. And now they're facing the Chiefs, who I believe, if I'm the Bengals, I am blitzing on every down. I do not care. I'm going to be like, look, this guy can't move around. Let's make sure he doesn't finish the game. That's what I'd be. It sounds ruthless. It sounds morbid, but that's how I think. If you're going to come out here with a bum leg, you're damn sure I'm going to bring the heat. And Lou Amarillo, listen, he was a Giants DB coach, so I think the world of him. I think he's good. He made those DBs pretty good. His defense is pretty solid. If he wins this game, he's going to start to get sniffs as being a head coach. All right, look out for that guy in the coaching circles. He's done a phenomenal job with that defense.
Absolutely. And let me bring up something else here. The Dallas Cowboys, man. This offseason, they're also like it's gonna be this offseason, like you said, it's gonna be absolutely great, man. I mean,
For every
especially
team in
in
the
this,
NFC East.
yeah,
Every team.
especially for this NFC East division. The Cowboys. Do you think the window may be closing? I saw somebody bring this up. I can't remember who it was. Somebody from the media. You think that they're saying that the window is closing on the Cowboys, like right now? Like this was kind of a do or die year for them, and they're going to start trending downward going forward. Do you
I
see
don't
that
know.
being the case?
It depends on who their coach is. If they keep Mike McCarthy, I still think they'll be in contention to win 10 games. I mean, hell, remember, we had them in second place, which they ended up in the NFC East, second place, and they won 12 games. Okay. So, that's back-to-back 12-win seasons. This year, they got further than they did last year. And if anything, I wouldn't say they're ascending, but they're right. They're right where they need to be in their thing. They wanted to be here a little earlier, but remember, their ankle, Dak Prescott's ankle broke, so they had that 1 year where they won 6-10. But if they bring back the same team next year, they have a great defense. And if Dan Quinn doesn't get a job, he's the front runner right now in Denver. That'll be big to see who they replace him with if he
I was
leaves.
just getting ready to ask about that.
Like if he
they lose
leaves and
Dan
goes to
Quinn,
Denver, that could change everything.
what kind of effect could that have on their defense if they lose Dan Quinn? I think the all season is going to determine a lot. I'm not really quite ready to say the window's completely closing on the Cowboys. I think this NFC East, it's just that you got teams. I think you're going to have just teams that are just going to. The Giants, the Washington are going to continue to get better, and I think that the window. It's just going to be a fun division of football to watch, man. Like,
what if they get Sean Payton? I know it's going to take an arm and a leg, but that's the type of move I could see Jerry Jones making. Jerry Jones is the type of guy that likes a big splash. And if he gets wind that, Sean Payton is going to come here, he's going to be like 2 first-round picks. Yeah, I'll do that. And he'll get me a Lombardi. You know what I mean? So that's my only fear is if they bring in a guy like Sean Payton, because I think he will be gladly say, yeah, you give me Dak Prescott, I'm going to make him the best quarterback in the league. Heck, if Brian Dable wasn't here and did so well, if Sean Payton were coming out, I'd go after him too, just because I like what he does. But obviously we have Brian Dable. Don't burn me up, Giant fans. I'm just saying, if the Giants were, struggling, or, it's all about timing with these guys. Really it is. And right now I look at the Cowboys. If I was in the Cowboys position, Mike McCarthy, hate him as much as you want, but back-to-back 12-win seasons, we're saying a 9-win season is good and a playoff exit. They got 12 wins and they went to a playoff exit and arguably played the best team in football, because if they played the Eagles, I don't know, maybe they beat the Eagles, but playing the 49ers was a different animal.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely agree. But I don't think they would have fared too well against the Eagles either. Like I said, I think what we're getting Sunday is the absolute ideal best matchup you could have asked for as a football fan for the NFC Conference Championship game with the Eagles against the 49ers. I think this is what you, as a football fan, things to have you a game that has you salivating. I can see this game being a fairly low scoring affair because, like I said, talking about 2 phenomenal defenses, man. But you do have 2 adequate offenses, so that's why it's weird. That, game can go. It can either be a shootout or it could be a defensive struggle. I don't think there's anything no in between with this game. Point blank, it's either going to be a shootout or a defensive struggle. You got 2 capable offenses, you got 2 great defenses. So it's just going to be a matter of how things play out and how this game goes. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, only thing I would have liked better, only thing I could have asked for that would have been better for myself personally is if the New York Giants would have been able to make it to this football game. Mm-hmm. But that obviously didn't happen. So as a football fan, this is actually the ideal matchup that I'm glad I get to sit back and enjoy on Sunday with no fanhood at all. I can just sit back and hopefully watch and enjoy a good football game. Well, I would low key rather see the 49ers.
Of course, go ahead and back low key. You don't need to be low key about that, okay? You should be high key about that, okay? We don't want to see the Philadelphia Eagles hosted on a Lombardi Trophy. That's point blank. So 49ers, I am sending you my love, my vibes to beat this team. Now let's get into it a little bit. What do the 49ers have to do? Well, the 49ers have to play sound defense. They have to stay in their lanes, okay? This team, the Eagles, love the 3rd and shorts, love the 3rd and 5s, love the 3rd and 3s, loves to get them in manageable positions. In this game, the Giants against the Eagles, the second play of the game was a bomb to Devontae Smith, okay? That's what opened up the game. The Eagles may do something similar to kind of loosen this team up. If they do, it's going to be advantage to them. They're going to play short dink and dunk passes across the board. Offensively, I want to see what Brock Purdy's going to do against this defense, because this defense is, again, we said it last week, he played one of the best defenses in football. This one, he's truly going to play another one of the best defenses in football. And we're going to see if he's going to keep that turnover streak of 0 turnovers in the last couple of playoff games alive, because right now he has 0 turnovers. He's thrown for over 500 yards in 2 playoff games. Let's see if that ends on Sunday, because if he doesn't get the big plays, because the Eagles like to eliminate that in their defense. They like to play a lot of 4-man rush and cover on the back end, and that's how they kind of get to you. If they can fluster this kid, that's going to be a big thing, and get turnovers, right? Get turnovers. Those will be the great equalizer. However, if 49ers establish the run game and establish a little bit of ball control, we'll see if they can. The Eagles can match it, because, like I said, the weakest parts aren't even the weakest parts of this team, right? They're all pretty solid football teams around. It's going to be a hard-fought win on either side, and I don't know who wins against the AFC, but there's definitely one team I don't want to see in the Super Bowl, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. So I want to see what Nick Bosa does against his offensive line. I want to see what he does. I want to see what Kinlaw does. I want to see what Fred Warner does, how he plays. I want to see McCaffrey against a defense because last week they didn't. It's not like they put up gaudy numbers offensively. They did just enough to get by. The Eagles did not do a lot this week to pass the football. Will they have to pass the football more this game? It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you said something that stuck out to me real big time. It's about the turnovers. I think that's what this game is going to end up coming to. You're talking about two very, very good, very talented football teams on both sides of the ball. I think it's gonna come down to them turnovers, the mistakes. Who makes the least mistakes? Whoever wins the turnover battle will win this football game. I see it no other way. Whoever wins the turnover battle will win this football game because these are two teams that will capitalize on mistakes. So as long as if Hurts or Purdy's not giving the ball away, it's going to depend. We're going to have to wait and see. But I think that's what it's going to come down to. These are two teams that have great depth. Some of the best depth you can find anywhere around the league is on these two teams right here that we're going to be seeing Sunday up in Philly, man. So, these guys and they utilize that depth. Like look at for instance, their running backs. Both of these teams, they like I said, run out multiple running backs, receivers all over the place. This team utilizes their depth. They don't just have the depth; they actually use it, and it's beneficial. And they keep their top guys fresh, are able to keep their top guys fresh. Last week in this game on Sunday against the Cowboys, Elijah Mitchell had more carries than Christian McCaffrey. So it's like you don't know what you're going to really get. It's going to come down. Or I agree, it could come down to coaching. But I'm not going to just totally disregard Nick Sirianni. He's had 2 great years in Philly. So I'm not going to disregard him like that as a coach either, and say I give the edge to Shanahan. They're two very
I think it's
well
about
coached football
even.
teams. Yeah, they're two very well coached football teams, man. So we're going.
But if you
Like I
want to
said,
get to
this
the
is a
minutia of it, if you want to talk about coaching, and you want to go down to like D'Amico Ryans versus the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, whoever that is, or the defensive coordinator of the Eagles versus the offensive coordinator of 49ers, and then of course, we can go tit for tat. But overall, I think they're about even.
these teams get it done, man. They're not only stacked with talent, they go out there and they utilize that talent, man, to their fullest. Like I said, this team went down the stretch without a couple crucial games they had to play without Debo Samuel, who's absolutely one of their biggest and best offensive weapons. The man's named Debo for crying out loud. like, come on, man. You know what I mean? So,
With a name like Debo, he's a
and,
star.
and he was born in 1995, by the way. So, maybe his parents were a fan of Friday. I'm just saying. Debo not his natural birth name, obviously, but still, the fact that that's his nickname is just something to be said. And he was born in '95. What just little off on a little tangent right there. But
Well,
anyway,
maybe you're right. Was he born when after the movie came out?
I'm not sure. I can't remember his exact birthday, but
Well, I always thought about that. That's my chain.
but that's how he plays the game too. He's like out there Debo and brothers, man. Like Debo Samuel is an intimidating figure, man. When he's on that field, when he has the ball in his hands, he's downright scary, man. He could take one to the house at any point in time from anywhere on the field, whether he's taking a handoff from out the backfield or whether he's running out on a route, like you said, catching it, running in stride, and when he gets a full head of steam, he's a hard man. He's
You can also
not
throw
an
it
easy
too.
wide receiver to bring down. Oh, he thought I didn't. I've actually never noticed him throw it before, but damn, I didn't know he had that in his game too. Debo is it's something different, man.
He's
But
he's what every player wants is a utility player, right?
yeah,
Is a guy that
absolutely,
can do it
man.
all. We tried to get it with Kadarius Toney, it didn't work out. Tyreek Hill, you kind of say is that kind of guy, but Debo does so much because he reminds me of Cordell Patterson, except better. Cordell Patterson, has been utilized as running back, receiver. He's done a lot of things in and out of the backfield, and I think he's the prototype receiver.
Yeah, totally agree, man. But like I said, this game, man, the only thing ruining it for me is that the fact that it's the Eagles playing in it. But it's us as one of the teams playing in it. But other than that, man, this is for real. From all serious, all jokes aside, you couldn't ask for anything better for the NFC Championship game to come bit better than to come down between these two football teams, to be quite honest. Unfortunately, the Eagles are getting there at the expense of our beloved New York Football Giants. But it is what it is, man. On to the off season for us, and we will be back next year. And speaking of being back, that's when we about to wrap this thing on up, man. And we will be back next week, next Wednesday, for our official season finale on the year. We will be back, and we'll be breaking down the NFC championship games, and we will probably talk about the AFC one just a little bit because of Super Bowl implications. And, talking about some other things concerning the NFC, so hopefully we get a little bit of news drummed up this week. Talk about the Dallas Cowboy talk, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, how they're going to handle all of this. Tony Pollard's a free agent. We'll talk about that, getting a little bit more into that next week. Some more. Oh, it's always Giant stuff to talk about. We're all Giant guys here, so we know it's always going to be Giant stuff to talk about. Maybe it might be a little Commander news. Definitely going to be talking about them Eagles. Like I said, they're the only NFC team left with a game, man. So
listen, the show's called The Real Deal NFC East Roundup, right? As long as the team from the NFC East is in it, we're here for you.
Yes, indeedy. So yeah, if the Eagles do advance, we will come up here with a Super Bowl special too. Unfortunately, it's going to be in honor of the Philadelphia Eagles. But if they do advance, we will have one of those in store for y'all too, man. But next week will be the official season finale.
Come on, Brock Purdy.
Deal.
I don't care what everybody thinks of you. I don't care what everybody thinks of you. You can do it.
Yeah, so we appreciate y'all. It's been a great season, man. Me and my guy Adam, man. And we definitely going to be bringing that heat during the offseason, too. It's just going to be a little more sporadic. Won't be every single week because, obviously, we're getting ready to hit at the Super Bowl. We'll be hitting that quiet period of the offseason where ain't nothing much going to be happening for about a month or so.
Right.
And but we'll definitely keep bringing that heat, man. And like I said,
we need
thanks
a break.
for tuning in, everybody. Yeah, appreciate for tuning in. Y'all for listening, man. Y'all been a lot of loyal listeners, man. Unpopular Opinion Sports, man. You definitely been holding the chat down today, man. My guy, Philly B. Everybody else that done popped through, man. It's been another great episode. And we will be back next Wednesday for the season finale of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. It's me and my guy, Adam Costas.
Have a good one.
Hey! I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants Fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants Fan. That's MacDa Giants Fan.